Good evening and welcome to my driveway. I'm once again sat in the passenger seat, just to switch it up a bit. I just got back from the cinema, so I'm not doing this too long after seeing the film. And I'm here to talk about what I think is the final installation of Phase 5 in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, more commonly referred to as the MCU. This is Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts asterisk, which if you've seen the posters or the trailers, you will notice it has an asterisk, which is kind of explained in the film. Now, I really wanted to love this one. I really wanted to get back to the sort of joy that Marvel films used to bring me years ago. And I'm sorry to report that it didn't bring me a huge amount of joy. Like pretty much everything else in Phase 5, or pretty much everything else since Endgame, apart from Spider-Man No Way Home, which is magnificent, it was decidedly mid, to use the language of the youth today. To put another way, it was very meh. And I hate using words like that. A, because, they're not really words. And B, because when this all started back in 2008 with Iron Man, it was so amazing and so different, and comic book films up to that point, with the odd exception, had been broadly terrible. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, they've cracked it. And they just couldn't miss. And when I think back to the Iron Man films, when I think of the Thor, and then the Captain America stuff, and then the build up to the first Avengers film, which infuriatingly in the UK was called Avengers Assemble, but wasn't called that anywhere else in the world. When I think of all those films and all those characters and all those stories and how much I loved them and how invested I was and what a huge event it was to build up to Endgame, and then I think about everything that's come since, and as I said, apart from No Way Home, which is definitely one of my favourite Marvel films of all time, nothing since then has excited me, has moved me. Everything's just been and if I'm being generous, this was better than Captain America Brave New World, but that's because Captain America Brave New World was awful. So, just in case you care at this point, the light's gone off in my car. I mean, you certainly probably don't care about that. No, it's not gone back on, so the light's gone down a bit. Adds to the drama. So we are focusing on a handful of characters who have been, over the course of several spin-off TV shows, things like the Hawkeye TV show and Falcon Winter Soldier and all that sort of stuff. We've seen several characters recruited by Julia Louis-Dreyfus's Valentina, I don't know her surname, it's in several parts and I don't care enough to remember it. So basically she's been going around recruiting these superheroes, ex-superheroes, anti-heroes, and using them to do her bidding. Using them as assassins, basically. So you've got Yelena, Florence Pugh, John Walker, who was the temporarily Captain America before the shield passed, quite rightly, to Anthony Mackie's Falcon. We've got David Harbour as the Red Guardian, Yelena's quote-unquote dad. Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp. The name of the actress who plays her escapes me. I apologise. And we've also got a guy called Bob, played by Lewis Pullman. And you start out thinking that Bob is actually quite insignificant, and then it turns out that Bob is very significant indeed. It also gives everybody the opportunity to say Bob a lot, which is never a bad thing. This one also stars Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes, who's now a congressman, although not an especially successful one yet. Obviously, he made a brief appearance in Captain America Brave New World, and that was the best scene in the whole film. So they're all off doing their thing. As I say, Bucky's a congressman. The others are doing things for Valentina. They're trying to destroy evidence of a project she was working on. And then it turns out that actually the project she was working on may not have been a failure after all. And to say much more than that would give too much away, and I never want to be a person who gives spoilers. There's a lot about Bob. And again, scraping for positives, because I never intentionally want to trash a film. All the performances are excellent. It's a really good cast of characters. You know, for a lot of them, they are playing these Marvel characters for... they've played them several times now, especially like Sebastian Stan, although he's in it less, as Bucky. Florence plays Yelena, is glorious as she always is. David Harbour's having all the fun, shouting a lot as Red Guardian, basically like a weird Russian channeling Brian Blessed type vibe. So the scenes when they're together, there is potential for like good ensemble bands, but then when I compare it to the sparky dialogue between the Avengers, for example, when they're first on the carrier and they're getting to know each other and they're trying to learn to work together, just none of that is there. And at the core, this film is about depression and loneliness, which is quite a heavy topic for a superhero movie. But maybe because these guys are anti-heroes, they've not set out to be heroes, then maybe that's why it works. Like, it's not awful, but it's also not great. And once it finally gets into its final act, and they have to team up to overcome the bad thing, again, no spoilers, then I was invested. Up to that point, I was just like, get on with it. And like the dialogue lacks, there's some good quips and there's some good lines, but I hate to say it because, you know, he has been exposed as a bit of a dirtbag and a bully. But when I think back to like Avengers, which was written and directed by Joss Whedon, who does ensembles so well, and the dialogue was just so pithy and sparked, and just the characters, then just... I miss it. And when you're comparing everything you're seeing to what's come before it, and it's fallen short, you can't help but be a bit like, you know, disappointed. And that's how I feel. And I was, like I say, I always go into these films wanting to love them. I want to be swept away. I want it to be wonderful. I want to see the banter and the camaraderie and the, you know, getting used to each other and all of that stuff. And it's there, but it's just lacking something. It's like a jigsaw made out of slightly misshapen pieces, which is not a glowing recommendation, is it? You know, it is what it is. And what used to happen was I'd watch I'd watch a Marvel film in the cinema and I'd straight away be thinking about, oh my God, I can't wait to see this again. I can't wait to own it on Blu-ray or, you know, watch it again. I think back to like, after I had Hal in summer 2012, I think we had Sky Cinema for a bit, either for free or for like very cheap. We had a deal. And Avengers had just come to Sky Cinema. And we just watched it all the time. Like, if it was on, we'd be like, oh, Avengers is on. It's 10 minutes in, we'll watch it from here. It's 10 minutes from the end, we'll watch it from here. It's halfway through, we'll watch it. Just because I loved it so much. And I could go in the house and stick it on now. And even having seen it several times before, I would enjoy it so much more than what I just sat through. It's 2 hours long. It's not dreadful. The performances are really good. And if I'm going to single somebody out, it's going to be Florence Pugh, because she's just the complete package. She is an excellent action star. She's really good at the fight sequences, but she also is such a credible and excellent actor with such great screen presence that in the weightier moments, in the more emotional moments, and there are a handful of them, she can give that the full beans as well. Like, she is an absolute all-rounder. And ever since I saw her in Fighting With My Family, I was like, this woman is incredible. And she continues to prove me right. So she's great. Everybody else in it is great. It's just less than the sum of its parts. Is that an expression? That's what I'm going with. Like, it was totally fine. What's next? That's what I say. So yeah, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, share it with people who might like it. If anybody else would like to watch me whinge about how disappointed I am with MCU films these days, then yeah, send them a link to the channel. Thanks for watching. Katie out.